Here to discuss, Vice President and Business and Culture for the MRC, Dan Gainor. Dan, what's your take on this?
Well, if you go back to the original story in the Atlantic, it talks about how Don Jr. did not respond. It uses those words 4 separate times. It says, he was mostly, the WikiLeaks comments were mostly ignored by him. This is where we are in 2017, where 3 messages on Twitter is a national conspiracy. If we're that point, the messages that I ignore on Twitter, does the FBI get to kick down the door while we're talking right now? Mm-hmm. It's ridiculous.
So you'd say they're making too much out of this, in your view?
Well, what they're doing, they're ignoring the real story because it benefits them. The real story is these things keep leaking. Mm-hmm. Don Jr. gave this information as he was supposed to, and then it leaks out to the press because some people in the investigation are trying to take down the Trump administration with public scorn and media support, mm-hmm. instead of actually doing the investigation like you're supposed to. So he's got to respond out in public on Twitter because that's the way this game is being played. It's being played behind closed doors, and the media are part of the players.
Mm-hmm. It's been happening actually ever since Donald Trump won this election. You've seen members of the intelligence community leaking things, and there's been this voracious appetite for it, if you would, on the part of the mainstream media, because they're trying to string all of these things together. But as we increasingly learn more, Dan, I guess I just ask you, it seems as though we're learning stuff on the other side too, which is that, for example, this dossier that was put together and largely discredited was actually financed by the Democrats and Hillary Clinton's campaign. And so as much as the media is attempting to extract information that somehow is going to implicate Donald Trump and his advisors, it feels as though a lot of the information we've seen is actually doing the exact opposite.
Well, yeah, you look at that, and that gets to the whole point. The media are trying to craft the narrative prior to any sort of report coming out or anything happening. They're trying to craft narrative so that it makes Trump look bad, but they get this information out there, and when you look at it, well, it certainly makes the Hillary camp look bad, mm-hmm. and that's not the story they want to tell us.
Dan, we're watching Jeff Sessions, of course, testifying there on Capitol Hill today. There has been talk that there may be a special counsel to look into the Uranium One deal and the Clinton Foundation. Do we need that?
Well, certainly I defer to Jeff Sessions on whether we need that or not. But I can tell you what we've seen in the press, they've done everything they can to suppress it. The idea of what's going on in the media, I can tell you a certain network that doesn't like this network reports on it any time we talk about it. Mm-hmm. How dare you? Oh, Hillary's not president. Yeah, you guys treat her like she is, and you only want to tell half the story about Russian connections. If we're going to look at Russia, let's tell the whole story.
Sort of what Harlan was saying earlier, too. In other words, they're saying, oh, you can't touch her because that's a previous administration. It's important for our democracy that you not go after. Well, you could make the same argument if you're going to hang everything on what's important for our democracy. You could say, it's not really good for our democracy that Hillary Clinton is still out there blaming Russia and any kind of collusion that may have happened, as well as many other Democrats. So, maybe if you're going to stick to that, then it's time everyone moves on. But nobody's willing to move on, Dan. That's the environment we're in right now. So partisan, with people just digging their heels in on both sides. And you know what's going to suffer as a result? The average American. We need average Americans to see a tax cut. We need corporations to see a tax cut. And I don't know if any of that's going to happen because there's so much other distraction going on.
Well, the American people, nobody cares about us because the media have been trying ever since Trump won to impeach him. And that's from day one, not even since he took office. I mean, literally since he won, they've been working with the deep state. You notice how that term has disappeared from the press when they realized that once the major media started using it, they realized the conservative media started using it. All these leaks come from the deep state. And, they're not coming, they're going right to the press. The press loves it because it gives them headlines and it helps them target Trump. It's a symbiotic relationship.
Dan Gainor, thank you as always.